What's up, my YT homies? It's your girl Alethea, and I am coming back with another video. And this video is definitely, as you can see from the title, different from anything you've ever seen on my channel. So if you want to get all up in my business and hear my tea, then please continue to watch. Alright, y'all, so I have my little tablet right here. Yes, I got a tablet, girl. I got my little talking points, trying to make sure I don't miss anything, which I can just about bet that I'm going to miss something. But nonetheless, I know some of you may have questions after you get done watching this video. So let me get to my page. Being the fact that, you know, this is kind of like tea. Definitely kind of like tea, you know, the tea that you sip on and be like, ooh girl, you know, you talk about people. But since I don't have any tea, and since I've just recently got into these right here, I'm gonna drink one of these. So, and I'm hungry, so I may end up having to cut this, go cook dinner, and come back. All right, so I'm trying to scoot that back just a little bit because y'all was too close up in my mug. This is not a makeup video. I did a makeup video on this look, so you'll see that later. Anyway, so I found my father through Ancestry DNA. Not only did I find my father, I found a sister and I found a niece. We'll get into all that later. Let's go back. Let's go back. So let me just start off from the beginning with my story. Go back to when I was a little girl, right? I had my daddy. And for all intents and purposes, or however you say it, when I say my daddy, I'm talking about the man that raised me. When I say my dad, I'm talking about my biological father.
So that we won't get those confused. Daddy, dad, daddy, dad.
I always call my daddy, daddy. So like I said, let's go back to my childhood. So my daddy, him and my mom, as I was growing up, they were not together, but I would go with him. I would spend time with him. Sometimes my sister's mother would come pick me up if my daddy was out of town or something like that, which she really didn't care for me, but nonetheless. And I know I didn't know then when I was younger why she didn't care for me, but of course I found out later why she did not care for me. So anyway, with that being said, when I was younger, and you know, as children, sometimes we say things to be mean to our to other children, to our family members or something like that. We try to hit below the belt. And I had a cousin that would hit below the belt, that would definitely say things that would hit below the belt. In my opinion, she would hit below. You know what? I'm hungry. I need to go fix dinner, and my battery needs to charge because I don't have a backup battery. I'll be right. Alright, so I have cooked dinner, eaten, and now I'm back to pick this back up. So let's go back. So I think I started off talking about my childhood. So and I was telling you guys about how kids can be mean and taunt other kids or whatever, you know, say things and not be so nice. And my cousin, she would always, like, she's only like 3 years older than me, I think. And whenever my daddy would come to pick me up, or I was getting ready to go with my daddy or something like that, or I would say something like, I'm gonna tell my daddy, she would make comments like, your daddy is dead, your daddy is named blah blah blah. She was like, your dad is a Puerto Rican man named so and so, which he's not Puerto Rican, let me just get it out. But I can see why, when looking at pictures of him when he was younger, I can see why she would say that. I don't know whether or not she saw him or she heard people talking about him or what have you, but my thing was, she's only, like I said, like maybe 4 or 5 years older than me. So my older sister is 2 years older than me, and she's older than my sister. No, she's about 3 or 4 years older than me. So, but I don't know how she knew this information, but she would always tell me, no, your daddy is dead, da 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 da. Especially when, like I said, when she was trying to hurt my feelings or something, she would tell me my daddy was dead, and she also went so as far as to say he committed suicide, and he killed himself in such river that is close to where we live. And so I I would go and ask my mom. I would ask my mom about it and stuff, and my mom would not, you know, she would not say yay, nay. She would not say whether or not my cousin was lying. She would not say whether or not my cousin was telling the truth. She didn't say anything. She just would brush the conversation off. And this was a repeated cycle for a long time. Although I still had my daddy, I still was just like, what is going on? Also, when I was younger, people would always say that I looked like my aunt. And I would just, to me, I did not look like her. I think they were trying to find somebody for me to look like, or because I was heavier and my aunt was heavier. This is my aunt that passed away, and I love my aunt dearly, but I just still to this day don't think I looked like her. But I think once again that people would say that because of my size, and they equated that to me looking like her. Anyway, with all that being said, my daddy is a dark-skinned man, and sometimes people would make comments and say that my daddy wasn't, you know, how could he be my daddy because of his complexion and with my complexion and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes you can't go by complexion when it comes to certain things. However, now I guess I know now where my complexion comes from. But with that being said, so also sometimes when I would go around his family, some of his family members weren't so kind to me, weren't so nice to me, without going into too much detail about it. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because I don't want to put anybody out there. This is not to bash anyone. But my mom's nickname is Tiny. My aunt that passed, her nickname is Tina. But sometimes when I would go around them, and instead of people saying, when people would ask, oh, whose daughter is this? Instead of them saying, oh, that's so-and-so's daughter, they would say, oh, that's Tiny's daughter. You remember the twins, Tina and Tiny or whatever? And I would turn around and I would say, I'm such and such's daughter. I would say my daddy's name because, you know, sometimes people just didn't put us together. One thing about it though, and let me say this, my daddy never ever treated me different from his other daughter. I think I have two other sisters, and I'm going to call them my sisters because that's still my daddy. But I met them, and him and somebody else, him and his girlfriend now, they were together back in the day, and apparently they had children or whatever. But whether or not, I don't know. But anyway, he says that my sisters, so they're my sisters. So anyway, and my sister, the one that I did was around a lot that looks like him. She is like the spitting image of him, and people would see the two of us together and would make a comparison of the two of us, her looking like him versus me looking like him. And I would always try to find something on him that I could say looked like me, so that I could say that, yeah, I looked like my daddy. And I didn't find anything. But with that being said, I really, for a great deal of my life, despite the fact of what my cousin would say, because my mother never told me whether or not it was true, I thought my daddy was my biological father. I did. Even though sometimes, like, because he was in the military for a while, and then when he got the military, you know, sometimes he didn't live in the same city. And so sometimes when we would go, he didn't live in the same state. And so sometimes when I would go to school and I would have events or whatever, and I didn't have my daddy wasn't there, kids would say things like, Alethea doesn't have a daddy. And I was like, yes, I do. I have a daddy. My daddy is so-and-so and so, and he's dead. Or I would say, my daddy is so-and-so and so, and he's off in the military. So I was just really confused growing up, because my mom, and I say my mom, and I have to preface this by saying my mom, because my mom was the one that could have laid anything and everything to rest, but she didn't. And that kind of, I think it could have saved me some stress a little bit if my mom had just told me and been honest. But what made me do the Ancestry DNA kit? When the Ancestry DNA kits came out, I would see people do the Ancestry DNA, and I would see them give their breakdown and all that kind of good jazz. Like I have mine over there, but give their breakdown of, I think I was saying that when I went on Ancestry DNA, it was basically because, like, I don't know whether y'all recall, but a few years ago on YouTube, it was all the buzz. All the big YouTubers were getting their DNA tested on Ancestry DNA, and 123, and all, they were getting it tested on different platforms to get your DNA tested. And I wanted to do it, but I'm just gonna tell y'all the truth. I think I told y'all already when I told y'all about me getting the kit for my birthday. I never wanted to pay for it. Ancestry DNA was not the company that I was specifically looking at. I was looking for 123 something. I was looking at that one, and there was another one I was looking at. But anyway, my wife ended up getting it for me for my birthday. And so, and y'all know I showed it when I showed y'all what I got for my birthday and all that kind of stuff. So she got it for me for my birthday. My birthday was October the 13th. So here's where everything happened. So on October the 18th, I went online and I activated my Ancestry DNA account, because I went ahead and I put my sample in to the little kit or what have you, and I shook it up, did all the stuff you do, and I sealed the box up. But I had to get the number off of there, and I opened up my Ancestry DNA profile online. That Monday, which was the 19th, my wife took it and she put it in the mail for me. So once she put it in the mail, and then after she put it in the mail on the 19th, on October the 28th, I got an email from them saying your sample has made its way through the queue. That was on October 28th, and it said I will get my final results in 2 to 4 weeks. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. So then on October the 31st, I got an email that said your saliva has reached the next stage and we're working on it, yada yada yada, all that good jazz. So I'm like, okay, so October 31st, it's going to be about 2 to 4 weeks, and then I'll find out. Well, the next thing I know, on November the 5th, I get an email from them, and this one I'm going to tell y'all, read word for word what it says. It said, your Ancestry DNA results are ready. Now it's time to discover what it is about your DNA that makes you uniquely you. This was on November the 5th. Okay. Wow. So I told my wife, she was like, oh my God, my kid came back, da, da, da. Let's go look at it. So then I go and I look, and I'm like, okay, I see. As a matter of fact, let me go and I'm going to look and tell y'all. I go and I see, I see my, where is it at? Let me find it. Okay, so then I go and I look and I see Nigeria at the top. It's like 36%. I see England and Northwestern Europe, Wales, Scotland, European Jewish, Mali, Cameroon. I see all these different things that are on here that make up my genetic profile. And I'm like, wow. Wow. So I'm looking at that, and that's about where I'm just like, okay, and I'm about to stop my little thing, because I'm like, I got the information that I wanted. But then I see where it says view DNA matches, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I go on here to view DNA matches, and when I go to view DNA matches, I'm looking, and the first thing I do is I see this girl that is like at the top of the matches, and I'm like, okay, I don't know who she is. And I said, well, maybe she's my father's niece. This is what I'm automatically thinking. And as I look further, I see my first cousin. I see a second cousin on there that I do know that are related to me via my mom, through my mom, on my mom's side. But then there are like a plethora of people that I have the slightest idea of who they are. But this one girl, and like, for instance, and this thing says, for shared DNA, I'm just going to tell you my first cousin, it says shared DNA 394 cm across 13 segments. But for this other girl, it was like this other lady, shared DNA 1799 cm across 31 segments. So then you can click on this thing, and so when I clicked on it with my first cousin and I clicked on hers, it said percent, 83% first cousin one time removed, half first cousin, second great grandparent, second great grandchild, 14% second cousin, 1% first cousin, So it gives the breakdown. But when I look at this top young lady, it goes relationship, grandparent, grandchild, half sibling, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew. So basically we had the same grandparent, we are the grandchildren of the same people, And I'm like, so at first, when I first saw her, I'm like, this girl is my cousin. And I tell Patrice, and And Patrice tells me that when we saw it, immediately she knew the girl was my sister. So I'm like, because I'm thinking like I said, that this is had to be my dad's brother's child, because from what I'm told, my dad was dead. But so I'm thinking like, well, unless she's older than me, because if he died, blah, blah, blah. Anyway. But then I said, no, this match. And so I get to comparing between her and my cousin. I'm like, this is my sister. This girl is my sister. So anyway, So guys, I decided to go ahead and add a little bit of my sister, my new sister. I don't know whether to call her my sister, my new sister. I was telling my bestie about her today, and I called her my sister, and my bestie was like, "You calling her sister already?" I'm like, "Yeah, she's my sister." So anyway, here is my sister, Erica.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Yes. So, okay, so I guess we can just go kind of like back and forth with asking each other questions or whatever, however you want to do it. So Erica's not a YouTuber, but we're going to welcome her here to YouTube. Maybe one day I can get her to start a channel since since I got a sister that actually does makeup. Do y'all not see the gorgeousness right here? Girl, eyebrows on fleek, lashes on point, eyeshadow. I mean, y'all, I have waited all my life for a sister that loves makeup like me. I don't know if her passion goes as deep as mine, but as long as she can. So what now?
No.
It does. Okay, well, as long as she knows what an eyeshadow palette is, we're good. So while I know we've talked about it, and I probably have talked about it, or we'll talk about it in the other part of this video, when you saw us, when you saw me, and I know what you already told me, but tell everybody, when you saw me, what was the first thing that came to your mind? Because I think we were thinking on the same wavelength.
So when I got the notice from Ancestry, I was actually in a meeting for work, and I was just bored. And I was like, let me check my email. And I checked my email, and I saw the thing from Ancestry, and I clicked on it, and it said Alethea Luttrell, first cousin. So I was like, oh, wow, that's a really close match. So I went into ancestry.com and I saw her picture, and I knew immediately we were related on my father's side. I was like, she looked like my father. And I said, because it said first cousin, I was like, maybe this is a sibling of my father's that he didn't know he had, and that's their child. Or maybe this is one of my uncles, because my father has 5 brothers, or has 4 brothers. Maybe this is one of my uncle's kids that they don't know about. So I was like, I'm interested. So I went to go send her a message. But when I went to go, I clicked on the envelope to send her a message, I saw that there was already a message there for me from her. And it said, she said, I think you're my sister. I grew up knowing my father's name, but I thought he was dead. And, she was real, she played it really well, because of course she didn't know how I was going to react. So she was like, I hope you reach out to me. I responded to that thing so fast, and I was so apologetic because I didn't realize she had sent me the message maybe a week or almost 2 weeks before I actually read it. So I was like, I didn't want her to be thinking like I was ignoring her or anything like that. So I sent her a message right away. I gave her my number. I said, call me. She didn't answer immediately. So I went on Facebook and searched for her and sent her a message there. And I think we spoke first, and then I called Dad. Mm-hmm. You want me to tell that part?
Well, I think you told him before, because you said in your message something about his head spinning, your head was spinning, his head was spinning, something to that effect. So I think you had told him, but I don't know whether there was a detailed conversation between the two of you.
Okay, so then I must have sent you that message on Ancestry and then called him before I messaged you on Facebook, because I was like, why she ain't calling me back right away? But I realized it was probably not even 5 minutes. But I called Dad and I said, Dad, you have a daughter. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I don't know why, but I was like whispering. I was like, you have a daughter. The DNA don't lie. So I told him, I said, you have a daughter. She looked like me. She looked like you. And the DNA don't lie. So I had also done, because I was like, why does it say first cousin? So I did I think it's called centenograms. So I Googled like how many centenograms is for like a half sibling. And it came up, it said something like, I think 1450 and up. And ours was like 1700.
1799.
And so Ancestry said that they group, half siblings as first cousins, close family, first cousins. So I was like, this is my sister. And that was that was that. Like, it didn't really feel like there was anything to verify. Like, it was just like, you know, because usually I guess it's like when people are questioning whether they're related or not, it's like, well, let's do a DNA test. But since the DNA test is what matched us, it's like, okay, it's, you know, pretty confirmed. And then, like I said, you know, looking at you, I was like, she looks like the female version of my father. Like, so to me, there was no, you know, really no denying it. The only thing I was trying to figure out, my head was spinning because you're 7 years older than me. And, you know, my parents had me when they were really young. My father was 25 when I was born. My mother was 20. And they had gotten married at 23 and 18. So I'm like, I was trying to figure out, like, well, how? Like, when did this happen? And I was like doing the math. I was like, Dad was 18? Like, I guess in my mind, I was like, he was never 18 before. I'm like, how can he? Okay. I was like, he was doing it at 18. I was like,
yeah, okay. So you guys will know, because I'm going to actually play this after I kind of give the other information. So you guys will know by the time you see this part that our dad did not know about me. He was in the military, as I told you guys, and he was actually in airborne school because the military base, he wasn't stationed in the military base that's right adjacent to where we live, but he came here for airborne school. And during that time is when he met my mother. And that was during the time where him and her splackety splack and had me. But he didn't, but you know, like I said, he didn't know about me. And someone may ask, and I think, well, Erica was telling me about her friend talking about our dynamics, because right from the beginning, we clicked. It's like after the first conversation with her, which y'all will know about it. I already tell you about it, so I'm not going to keep referencing that. But I was nervous as heck because my thoughts were at first that they were not going to want me. They were not going to want any parts of me. So the first time I talked to her, I was like really, really nervous. But it was like after that, my nerves settled down, and we have talked every day since the first day we talked. We text and we talk and everything. And even at I don't think I told you this, but even I think it was the second day or the first day we were talking, and I think we hadn't talked, but we had texted each other. And Patrice was like, "You gonna call your sister today?" And she was like, "Don't text her, because y'all don't need to be don't make her think that you don't want to have anything to do with it because you're texting." I'm like, "We've already texted this morning already." So I was like, it was too late for that because we were already texting. And then we didn't actually FaceTime until like the third time we talked, because we didn't FaceTime at first. But yeah, so I mean, we've talked every day since then. So, but it just seems like I don't have. Some people might think maybe like, well, she's had him all her life and you didn't. While my daddy that I told you guys about wasn't in the house with me, he wasn't there all the time. Who I had as a father, and I had a stepdad. So I had male figures. Would I have loved for those male figures to be my biological father? Yes. They weren't though. And so I don't have any grudges or any hostilities about that towards my sister or him, because he can't do anything. He couldn't do anything about something he didn't know. So our relationship and what happened prior to us meeting each other has no bearing on us. I mean, it's like when you have a kid and you're like, I'm in love already or whatever. It was just like, this is my sister. I love my sister. It's like, there's no questions about it, So.
Yeah. And I was, I grew up as an only child, thinking I was an only child. And, that was always a little sad for me, because I didn't really know anybody else that was an only child. So, it's different. Like my daughter, like she got a lot of friends who, are only children, or she's only 3. They're only children at this point. They're probably not going to remain only children. But, growing up, that was really different for me. Even in my family, my mother's not an only child. My father's not an only child. And I just kind of always wanted that a sister relationship. Now do have a lot of friends. Like I'm one of those only children who has been adopted by everybody. So, like I have friends that I've had for, since I was 8 years old. And, I have a lot of good girlfriends that, I would consider like sisters, but I think there's something very different. And it didn't dawn on me how much of a gap it was for me in my life until my father got really sick. And it just, I was like, wow, like, I'm my mother's only child. At the time, I'm thinking I'm my father's only child. Like, if something happens to them, this is all on me. And, not even like to deal with, or like, like financially or how they're going to be cared for, but more like it will be me alone kind of lacking that parent now. And so when I saw that you were my sister, I think honestly, if it was like you had found me on Facebook and it wasn't through DNA, I would have been like, I don't care, she's my sister anyway. Like even if the results weren't there, because I think I was just so like, wow, that's something I never had. And then the fact that we kind of clicked from the very beginning, it just felt and feels so like natural. And I think, to the point around there's no reason for me to feel any type of way. If I were to feel any type of way, it would have been towards my father. But, one of the first things I told you was he didn't know. I know he didn't know because I know the kind of man he is. And if he had known, he would have been in your life. So that wasn't even a question for me. But had it been that he did know, I wouldn't have been looking at you a certain way. I would have been looking at him a certain way. Like, really? But I still feel like that doesn't have anything to do with, you or I. And it probably also helped. Well, let me not say it helped, but it was nice the fact that my mother was very much like, I'm so happy for you. Like she didn't feel a certain type of way because for all these years, herself, she's thinking she's the only mother of child, so she didn't feel any way. And she's just so excited for me and excited for me to, to meet you. So, it feels good because, I didn't know how she was going to feel. And then of course I didn't know how dad was going to feel. I didn't know if he was going to feel like, cause it's easy for people to kind of look at the situation and look at him and looking at him like, what's going on. So I know me knowing him, even if he doesn't express that, I know that it's got to be something that he's thinking about and wondering, do people think, what do they think about the fact that, he had a child that he didn't know about?
Yeah. I mean, and then with the fact of once he he told me about his military situation and with my mom and her trying to find him and reach out, with that year. And I was born in 1973 and there were things that were going on with what they were doing with black men in the military way before I was born, before we were thought of. So, anything could have happened. And with the way this, with what she said and then what he said, it was like, I feel like the military, his captain, supervisor, whomever had something to do with it, because one of the things that she said that she kept calling and they kept giving her the runaround pretty much. And he said that he had orders to go one place and all of a sudden his orders changed and then his date moved up. So, it's almost like, did they know and did they hurry up and move him to, because he was a young guy. And then he also said something about his position in clearance and all that kind of stuff. That stuff with the military, I don't know nothing about. So anyway, I don't know nothing about all that. But anyway, so it just makes you wonder like how many other families out there or guys out there that have children or whatever that they possibly don't know about because of the military. With
you know what? That's funny that you say that. My friend said almost those exact same words because I have a group chat with all my friends, from New York. We've all now kind of moved all over the place, but have a group chat. And of course I had to tell them right away. And, one of my friends was like, that's crazy. I wonder how many children there are like this that, just don't know and just have no connection. And, you know, not that their fathers have, you know, abandoned them. They just didn't even know. They didn't even know. Let this be a lesson to teenagers and others. Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
I know, right?
But I'm glad they did it. I'm glad they did it, or you wouldn't be here, neither would I. But
but one thing I can say though, it's like, and you know, all my life, and I've been told, like, I used to be told that I looked like my aunt, my aunt that passed, my mom's twin sister, because they were fraternal twins, and I was told that I looked like my aunt, and I always would say, I do not look like my aunt. I do not look like my aunt. I would cry. I would literally cry. It was so funny. It would be so funny to people. They would wonder why I cried. And I think a part of me cried because my aunt was heavier, and I was big, and I didn't like being big, but I also felt like I did not look like my aunt. To me, I just did not look like her. But I felt like they were trying to give me somebody to look like, so to speak, because like my sister, my oldest sister, she looks like her father, more so than my mom. And, you know, so then it's like with me, oh, you look like your auntie. And then with my baby sister, you know, they would say who she looks like, this, that, and third. And it's like, I just knew, and I knew I didn't necessarily look like my mom, even though some people say the older I've gotten, I look like her. I think it's just because my face has narrowed because I lost weight, because my mom always had a smaller face, even though it's not as small as it used to be. But anyway, all that to the side, I just was like, I don't look like her. I don't look like my mama. I don't look like anybody around. So it's like, I'm like, I guess I must look like my dad, whoever he is, wherever he is, you know, this dead man, because like I said, I thought he was dead or whatever. So, and then when I saw him, when I saw you and I saw your cheeks and I saw your face, I was like, yeah, that's my sister. And then when I saw him, I was like a jaw drop. I was like, oh my God. So, and I know we've talked about it. What did you think when you saw me and my features and looks and stuff like that?
Because you look like Dad. Like, I'm just like, you know, my whole life people have said, like, even when I was a kid, they used to be like, he spit you out. You look just like him. Even my daughter's like, she look just like your father. You, like, I feel like I'm third in line now. I told you, like, you look like him, then my daughter, then me. Like, I'm like, where am I? Wait, where I fit in now? I'm just like, no, your whole face, even when I look at you, I'm like, you know, because even your cheekbones are more defined. You have more of like the Mitchell family cheekbones than I do. I'm like, you got it. But the nose, the eyes, the mouth, I'm like, that's why when I saw your picture, I was like, because, you know, it could have been a first cousin on my mother's side. But when I saw your picture, I was like, we related on my dad's side, like, no doubt about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought because my father looks like, from what I understood, looks like his father, looks like our grandfather. So that's why I was thinking maybe he had another kid, you know, and if all those genes are strong, then that's why you look, you know, if my father and that phantom sibling, you know, really looked alike, and you were their child and you look like them, then that explained it. But it's a little closer relationship than that.
And, you know, like I said, and for, at the beginning, and going kind of back to the Ancestry DNA where, you know, the thing had close relationship, first cousin. And I also thought immediately, okay, this is my cousin, because when I sent you the first message, the message that I sent in Facebook, it was when I first saw the thing, and I was like, I sent the message and I said, I think you're my cousin, da 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 da. And then I went back the next day because I mean, every day I went on Ancestry DNA up until I sent you the message on Ancestry DNA. And then when I sent you the message on Ancestry DNA, I stayed away from it for a few days because I was like on pins and needles, wondering when you were going to see the message. But I'm thinking and I'm looking at it and I'm like, first. And then I'm looking at the matches for other people that I like, my actual first cousin. I'm looking at her and I'm looking at your numbers and I'm like, well, why is she my first cousin and her numbers are this low? And she's my first cousin and her numbers are this high. Like, that don't make sense. And I'm like, make it make sense. So I just wondered, like, I just wondered, why did they put it that way? But then in the breakdown, on the 100% breakdown, it had half sibling. But on that part, it had, you know, like, that just baffled me.
That's how they categorize it, because even Uncle Raymond, when he did his ancestry, it popped up that he was my first cousin. And I was really like, what kind of secrets we got in this family? I'm like, Uncle Raymond's mother. I was like, this is some. But I was like, I know he ain't my first cousin. That's my father's brother, as far as I know.
Let me tell you though, what gets, I'm almost like, a part of me was like, ancestry DNA, trying to make sure people don't come and get them. That's the first thing that came to my mind. They trying to make sure people don't come and get them, because you done messed up this family, because you done told what's going on with this family. But
right,
yeah.
I'm like, because even for Uncle Ray, like, there's no category for uncles, aunts. There's no, they all go into the first cousin, and your first cousins all go into the first cousin. Even what I thought was odd, because my mother did the ancestry DNA, it came up like parent or child, and I'm like, you can't tell. Is she not my child? Is she my parent? But okay.
I think probably because of those DNA strands or whatever, maybe that's what it is. But, you know, you can tell, and for those of you that have not done the ancestry DNA, with the way they have you categorized on there, so to speak, you can tell the relationship is closer with someone, because like you're in your own bracket, and then everybody else is like in their bracket, the ones that have a lower CM. But what's the CM for again?
Centigrams.
Yeah. So the other ones are in like the lower category, but whereas you, because we're that 1799, and you know, even with you saying the 14, because I'm thinking like it was 17, but even with the 14, like it's even higher, almost like we got more of his DNA than our moms. That's so funny. But anyway, so
really.
Okay. So that the categories are a little different, but I will say that if it were not for the pandemic, I know by now I would have been face to face with you by now. This pandemic has things to where they are. And so, and here's the thing, and one of the reasons why I wanted to share it, because I went back and forth with whether or not to share this on the channel. But I decided to share this because 2020 has been a tumultuous year for a lot of people. I've had my ups and downs in this year as well, especially with the work. So y'all already know that. But I felt like this right here for me. Okay. I'm not going to cry. But this right here for me is like, it made 2020, everything else that happened in 2020 worth everything else happening. It's like that icing on the cake. First off, I have a sister and I have a niece. But not only do I have a sister and a niece, but I have a dad that I'm going to meet, a dad that I thought I would never meet, because during the time where my cousin was being mean to me, she kept telling me he was dead. And my mom never knew and never said anything. So all my life, I thought this man was dead, and he's not. So it just trumps knowing that he is alive trumps everything else. And it's like, man, even though it'll be 2021 before I get to see him, I get to meet my dad. You know, I get to meet my sister. I mean, not only did I get to meet my dad, I got a bonus, you know, I got a bonus, 2 bonuses, you know, so, and even other family members, you know, because everybody so far that I have met with the Zoom, and even got a couple of friend requests and a message in my inbox, it's like I'm being welcomed, and no one has met me yet. And it's like, welcome to the family, you know, so that is like, so awesome. It's not like something you see on TV where somebody's like, oh no, she's not, this, that, and third. I wasn't thrown away. I wasn't shunned or any of that. All the things that I was worried about, that didn't happen to me. So that is just like, wow.
No, we're not that type of family. Number one, we would never do that. Like, we're the type of family that if you know, he had known about you, and try to leave, somebody would have went and got you, or somebody would have reached out to your mother. You know what I mean? Like no, that's not supported. As you've seen, we got cousins that got mad kids, but it's not like that. But also, we're just a welcoming, family. We're the type of family that is like, you could be a friend and now you became a cousin, or like I got plenty of aunts and uncles and cousins that's not even actually related. We're just like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I was happy. I was like, oh, I wish I had a big sister all these years. I could have been saying like, I'm gonna get my big sister on you, and I'm like, I missed all that opportunity.
Yeah, okay.
Especially in high school. I could be like, my big sister's in college, because you would have been in college when I started high school.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, past that, wait a minute, because there's a 7-year difference. So, yeah.
But you would have been like a junior in college.
Well, yeah, because of the age you go to school, duh. But yeah, so, but yeah, that would have been.
And I probably would have been wanting to do everything you did.
Yep. So it's just, like I say, I just really, really wanted to share this. And, for any of you guys, and I'm just going to put it out there that may have other questions or something that Erica nor I got to in this video, because, I don't want this video to be too long, but if you have questions or whatever, I'm sure Erica would be more than willing to come back to the channel. And as a matter of fact, I didn't want to do this video in a StreamYard, because I didn't want to do a live and never know, who's going to come on, who's not going to come on. So, in the future, we could possibly do a StreamYard where we interact with you guys live. So if you want to see that, if you want that, then just let me know, and we can set that up to, to chat with you guys that way as well, and answer any questions that you may have. So, but is there anything else that you want to say, Erica, before we end this?
No, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'm just extremely happy that, I have a sister, happy that I found a sister that is so much like me, just as silly as me. I'm hopeful that when it's time to start changing Dad's diapers, that like, you're gonna help me do that. And I'm gonna be like, you're the oldest.
You get it. It's your turn. You do it more. So yes.
But no, I just honestly, I can't wait to meet you. Like, I'm just want to put my arms around you. I'm just like, I want to touch her. Like, oh my God, it's my sister. I told my husband, I was like, I think I'm in love with my sister. He's like, what? I was like, I can't stop calling her. I was like, I was going to tell her something.
Okay. So it's like, what I mean? We're already talking to each other about stuff that it'd be like, take me forever to talk to people about. So, it's just like that instant bond, that instant chemistry and all that kind of good jazz. So, we have that. We have that. And I am grateful for that. And like I said, so happy that the situation worked out the way that it worked out, and that, I guess I don't have any other words for it, but I'm just happy and elated and just can't wait until we get the chance to meet each other and get our matching hats.
This Christmas tree make my nose all itch. I'm like,
you in that Christmas tree. So yeah, we're gonna put ours up. We got to get out the attic and stuff. Yeah, she has a real live Christmas tree. I've never done a live Christmas tree. Now look, let me tell you, you're gonna have me next year telling Patrice, we got to go get a live tree. We got to do like Erica did and get us a live tree.
Well, the tree, we had a hard time standing up because it's so big, and here come Anaya. That's because you ain't listen to me. Because she wanted me to get the little tree, the smallest tree in the thing. This little 3-year-old is like, she needs her own chair.
Oh, man.
That's because you ain't listen to me, mommy. Like, young lady, excuse you.
Okay. Like, go sit over there. So anyway, you guys, if you have any other questions or what have you for us, just let us know, and we'll be happy to answer them to the best of our ability, because, she didn't know about me. I didn't know about her. Now I know about her, and she knows about me, and we're happy and we're excited. So So we're
And
gonna
for all the haters out there, know that there's plenty of people like this, complete strangers, and meet each other and get married in like a week or two. So
exactly. So me and my sister can meet each other and talk every day and love each other in like a day or two. Anyway, so I'm gonna wrap up my video and then I'm gonna chat with you before we go to bed. Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, so I did send her, where was I at? I don't know. There's some footage that you're going to see because my sister and I just had a conversation on Zoom that we're putting on here. Anyway, so let me see, where was I at? I sent her a message on November the 5th on Facebook, and then I ended up taking it down on November the 8th because she had not opened it, because you know you could tell when someone has opened it. And I sent him a letter in Messenger and he did not open it, and to this day he has not opened it, but I know why that he has not opened it. But anyway, so then on November the 12th I sent a message to her as well. I don't know where I was with telling y'all what was going on and all that kind of stuff. I'm just confused and baffled. But anyway, I will say that once I talked to her and she was like, he couldn't have known about me and all that, because I talked to her on November the 12th. I sent her a message on Ancestry DNA, and I sent the message on November the 12th, and it wasn't until November the 23rd that she actually saw the message. And I was just sitting and I went on Ancestry to look and see, did she see anything, because before that I wouldn't look on there, and for a few days, and then I finally did go and look on there and she hadn't replied. So I'm like, okay, well, blah blah blah, because I was really worried about being rejected, because once we went and saw the DNA match, Private Eye Patrice went and found her on Facebook. I went and looked at her on Facebook. She had 2 Facebook pages and she ended up sending me a friend request from both of those Facebook pages, and we talked, and I've talked to him and everything a few times, and based off of what my mom told me, and you guys, I'm going to be completely honest and transparent in this video. I was mad at my mom. I was hurt and I was mad because I felt like my mom should have told me the truth. She never ever told me anything. She let my cousin just say what she said, and she never said anything. But I know now why she didn't, and I can understand. And it was what happened in that situation with my mom and with my dad was the military's fault, pretty much. And and automatically, I don't know, let me say this, when I automatically just immediately started, once I found out he was alive, and I said my father is alive, and I was like my dad, and dad just seemed to roll off my tongue. And maybe because I call my other father daddy, but my sister also calls him dad. So anyway, with that being said, there's a little bit more, but I just really, just to be truthfully honest, my sister and we talked, and that video, that is going to be in this video, as well as I'm tired at this point. I've had a long day, and there may be some things that I'm leaving out. I don't know. I know there are some things that I'm leaving out, but if there are any questions or anything that you would like to know, please leave them down in the comment section. I really want to go ahead and end this video because this video is going to be hella long. I know it is, and I'm tired, and I just don't remember where I was before my sister and I got on the video where we were talking. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I want to say this. I know a lot of times people judge people for what they do and the decisions they make. And while y'all don't know my mother, please don't leave any comments down there in the comment section towards my mother or my daddy or my dad. Don't leave any, mean comments or whatever, because my daddy, he never talked to me about it, just like my mom never talked to me about it. But they did, I guess, what they thought was best. My daddy did what he followed my mom's lead or what have you, and we've talked about it, and I talked to him about it. And like I said, for a long time I just kept trying to find my place, because I thought my daddy was my daddy, and I just was being told by this person and that person in some shape, form or another that he wasn't. And for the longest, I needed to know who my dad was. and I didn't know whether he was dead or alive, because I didn't know whether my cousin knew what she was talking about, all that kind of stuff. And now that I know that he is alive, and while he's had some things to happen in his life that he's had to overcome, I am so glad that he is a strong man and a trooper, and I can't wait to get to meet him one day. And I am glad that our situation is one to where I am being accepted. We've had a Zoom call with family members, and they've welcomed me, and I can't say it's because I look like him, because that's what everybody kept saying, I look like him. So I don't know whether it's because I look like him that it was just automatic, yes, we're gonna accept his child, or whether it was just the fact that they are, just like my sister said, loving and kind people. But point blank period, this is like life-changing thing, something that is very good, and I am so happy to finally know who I look like, I guess you could say. And I'm gonna see, my sister brought up the idea of us doing a video with my dad, and I'm gonna see if he wouldn't mind doing a video and bringing it here to the channel. So just keep a lookout for that, and we'll see what happens. And so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get myself ready to go to bed. I'm tired. This has been a long day, and I got to get up to go to the gym in the morning. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for coming to check out another video here on my channel. I do truly appreciate you all so much. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video across all your social media sites. And so until the next time and in between time, you ladies and gentlemen be safe, and I will do what? Catch you on the flip side.